Saiyan Rose Goku Black.
3 days had passed, and on the planet of the goddess of destruction, Miyu was lying in the shade under some trees while was played a kind of chess with the oracle fish. "Goku," she whispered with a small smile and a hand on her chest before falling asleep after thinking so much about the sin on Earth. To be exact, in Kamisama's palace, Krillin, Goku, Bulma, Yajirobe, Mr. Popo, and Karen were gathered, as they were discussing what they would do with those who died in the battle against the Saiyans. Those Saiyans said that Piccolo was a Namekian. "Maybe if we go to Piccolo's planet there might be Dragon Balls there too, don't you think?" said Krillin quite seriously. "A Namekian?" Goku shouted, surprised. "Guys, Krillin has given an excellent idea, but the most important thing is missing. How are we going to get there if we don't have transportation and we don't even know where that planet is?" said Bulma after thinking about that possibility. "Don't worry, you can use the Kami-sama ship," said Mr. Popo, gaining everyone's attention. "It's hidden in the ice continent. I'll guide you." He spoke again. So they went in search of Kami-sama's ship, and they would have everything ready to leave since the ship had the coordinates of the planet Namek. "Now we can go," said Bulma, leaving the ship. It had already gotten dark. Only Goku and Mr. Popo were in Kami-sama's palace. "Perfect, Bulma. You should go as soon as possible," said Goku as he stopped exercising a little. The blue-haired girl raised an eyebrow as she approached Goku. "What do you mean, you should go as soon as possible? Aren't you coming?" he said half scoldingly. "Ahihi, what happens is that I have to see someone in a few days, but don't worry, I'll go." The Saiyan answered the latter with a thumbs up. "Okay," he said while sighing. "I better go home to rest." "Goku, will you take me?" "Eat something while you're at it," he said to his best friend. "Eat something? Well, what are we waiting for?" "Bulma!" shouted the excited Saiyan while he carried the brief and flew away at great speed. "Goodbye, Mr. Popo," he shouted as a farewell. The next day at dusk, Goku, Krillin and Bulma met at Kami-sama's palace since the ship was there. "Seriously, you're not going, Goku?" Krillin asked his best friend. "I'm sorry, Krillin, I have to meet someone in a few days, but as soon as I have time I'll go," Goku replied with his typical smile, reassuring his friend. "I hope you keep your word, Goku." "So it will be Bulma and me?" asked Krillin, looking at the blue-eyed girl who was adjusting her astronaut suit as she was quite careful. "That's right, Krillin, hurry up and put on your suit. And let's go as soon as possible," she answered, a little annoyed since the zipper didn't fit her in the bust area and it was making her angry. "Yes, you're right. I'll put it on now," Krillin replied before looking at Goku. "We'll wait for you there," he said before going to change. "Goku, count on it, Krillin." A few minutes later the two were ready to leave. Bulma cleared up some doubts she had with Mr. Popo about the planet they would go to, and when she finished doing so, Krillin and Bulma said goodbye to both of them and then boarded the ship. "I'll call you on the communicator I gave you as soon as we arrive. Remember that my father will build a spaceship for you to travel in," Bulma shouted before she closed the door of the ship, and they left for Namek. "Well, I guess I have to wait. In the meantime I'll train a little," said Goku, turning around to leave. "Wait, Mr. Goku," Mr. Popo called. "Why don't you come into the time room?" he asked the Saiyan. "Alright, I had forgotten that room was there, but will I be able to resist this time?" He said while laughing embarrassedly. "Of course he will. A few days ago I felt his ki increase incredibly. Please follow me," said Mr. Popo as he turned around to guide the Saiyan towards the time room. Upon reaching the door, Goku asked him, "Should I go in or do you have to prepare it?" No, I prepared it before you arrived with Krillin and Bulma, so please come in right away," Mr. Popo kindly asked. "Thank you very much, Mr. Popo. I owe you one." Goku happily replied and entered. Luckily for the Saiyan, thanks to the hard training he had on Kaio's planet, he could now train in the time room. The next day he came out with his clothes in tatters, but his power had increased considerably. Power level before entering Goku base, 15,000. Goku Super Saiyan, 750,000. Current power level base Goku, 31,000. Super Saiyan Goku, 1,550,000. I see you've done it, Mr. Popo said, appearing with clean clothes for the Cien to change into. That's right. It was incredible. I feel like my power has increased considerably. By the way, Mr. Popo, he said while receiving the clean clothes. Don't you have anything to eat? I'm starving. Go change while I serve you something to eat, Mr. Popo answered kindly as he guided the Cien to a room to change and then went to the dining room where there was a huge feast. Elsewhere. Lady Miu, the days I had told Mr. Goku have passed, said Whis as he approached where the goddess of destruction was resting. Thanks for letting me know, Whis, he said as he slowly woke up. You know, these days I've been thinking about it deeply and I realized something, Miu said as she stood up. It's true, I've never seen you try so hard for something. And what did you realize, Mrs. Miu? Whis asked. I want to be with Goku. I know it sounds illogical, I mean, I was only with him for a while, but I don't know how to express myself, cursed Miu, hitting the ground with her foot and grabbing her head with her hands. No need to say more, I understand what you're trying to tell me, but, are you sure you're going to continue with this? What will you do if the other gods of destruction find out? What will you do if Zeno-sama doesn't allow you to have a relationship with a mortal? Said was trying to find out how convinced Miu was. If the other gods try anything against my Goku, I will erase them from existence, and if Zeno-sama forbids me, she said while looking down for a few seconds and giving a long sigh before looking at Whis again, then I will leave my position as goddess of destruction, she said with enormous determination. Whis, seeing a huge glow in Miu's eyes, a glow that had disappeared when Miu's mother left, and now it was back, that made him smile. Very well, Mrs. Miu, then go take a bath and then we will go to the land, the angel told her. Yes sir, he shouted with a huge smile before running away. Ho, sometimes she behaves like a child, Whis whispered with a slight smile as he saw Miu smile. Seeing her in that state made him feel happy and that he was doing his job well, as a teacher, assistant and tutor. Back on Earth, Goku had just eaten a large part of the feast. I'm so full, he said while lying down and rubbing his stomach. It never ceases to amaze me how much food he eats, Mr. Popo commented after seeing how little food was left. Suddenly a white light appeared in front of both of them and from it came an anxious Miu who threw herself to hug the Cien. Goku, you! She shouted with excitement before throwing herself at him and giving him several kisses all over the Cien's face. Miu! You're back! He shouted while hugging her. Whis, let me take a little souvenir, he said while taking out a camera and taking a picture of Goku and Miu hugging each other as if they hadn't seen each other for centuries. Excuse me for interrupting, but who are you? Asked Mr. Popo while gathering the dirty dishes. Let me introduce you, said Goku as he stood up next to Miu, who instinctively took the Cien's hand. Mr. Popo, he is Whis and she is Miu, he said, pointing with his eyes at those named. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Popo-san, Whis greeted kindly. I am the goddess of destruction, Miu, and future, Etu. Goku's partner, she said playing with her fingers and a blush on her cheeks. My future partner? What would that be? Asked Goku since he didn't understand. Don't you know what a couple is? It's when two people like each other, start dating, and over time form a family, Miu said the last thing, covering her face with her hands to hide her blush. And to think you didn't know about these things either, was whispered while laughing. I understand now. So by forming a family you mean we'll have children? Asked Goku, slowly understanding. Miu nodded shyly without taking her hands off her face, although it seemed like smoke was coming out of her ears. And how will we have children? Goku asked now, raising an eyebrow. Miu took a long breath to calm herself as she slowly removed her hands from her face and with enormous shyness answered, I don't know exactly, but from what I've been told, you'll have to put in. Ahem, I think this is not the time or place to talk about these things. Don't you think, Mrs. Miu? Said was interrupting the goddess of destruction. Mr. Popo, excuse my intrusion, but Mr. Goku is a bit stupid and doesn't know many things, since he has been dedicated to combat since he was little and has never been taught about other things, he said calmly, since he understood that the goddess of destruction was a goddess like Kami-sama, without knowing the enormous difference that there was between the two. Hey, snorted Goku. Hee hee. Miu laughed and then hugged Goku. Then I'll teach you everything I know, she said happily. Really? Thank you very much. This way I'll learn things that may turn out to be important, Goku replied with a huge smile and then gave a short kiss to Miu, who was surprised and blinked several times. I'm sorry. Did I do something I shouldn't have? Asked Goku, seeing Miu's reaction. The goddess formed a smile while shaking her head. No, not only was I surprised that you took the initiative, and it makes me very happy that you did, she replied before kissing him passionately. Whis, I'm glad you found someone to fall in love with, Mrs. Miu. I wish this happiness you feel would last forever, thought the angel as he smiled at the sight of both of them. As they separated, Goku grabbed Miu by the chin. Will you stay? He asked seriously. Of course. From today on I will live with you, she answered happily while placing her head on the Sin's chest. I'm glad to hear that, Goku told her as he put his arm around her back to bring her closer to him and then kissed her on the head. Mr. Popo, do you want to eat something? Well, since you mentioned it, I think I'm a little hungry. For my part I will accept your invitation, Whis replied. I'm hungry too. I rushed out to see Goku. I didn't eat anything, Miu said as she stopped hugging him. You should have taken your time and eaten something. I'm not going anywhere, not for now, he said as he approached the table. Miu, who was about to sit down, stopped dead in her tracks and turned to look at the Sin. How come not for now? Did something happen? He asked curiously. Well, the truth is yes, we had a confrontation against two Sins who came to destroy the earth. My friends tried to stop them until I arrived, but when I did several were dead. Luckily we managed to win, Goku narrated seriously. How terrible. Tell me who murdered your friends and I will find him and destroy him, said Miu, getting angry. No, I want to defeat him with my own hands. Only one of them is left. His name is Vegeta, Goku told her and saw how she smiled slightly. Prince Vegeta? That uneducated scum? I'll teach him a lesson. Whis, I called to the angel. How delicious, Whis shouted as he tried a bite of roasted meat, ignoring Miu, who, upon seeing the food that Mr. Popo was bringing and the good aroma it had, began to make her mouth water. Hey Whis, don't finish your food, Miu shouted as she went to the table and started eating. How delicious. By the way, Mr. Popo, how long will it take to get to Namek? Goku asked him. Mr. Popo, I calculate that with that ship it will take at least a month. Why do you ask? A month? Well, at least I have a month to train, Goku said cheerfully. Goku, Miu called before wiping her mouth. Why do you want to get stronger? She asked curiously while Whis looked sideways. I just want to be stronger and that's it. I like facing powerful people and now what motivates me the most is you, Miu, he said animatedly. Me? Asked the goddess of destruction while raising an eyebrow. That's right. You are incredibly powerful. I'm sure you haven't used even 1% of your power against me, but one day I will make you use all your power. He said, transforming into a Super Saiyan with excitement. Miu smiled at what Goku said and leaned on his shoulder. Do you think I didn't notice that your power has increased? I'm sure, Goku, that one day you'll be able to fight me as equals. Cough cough, Mr. Goku, if you agree, I could start training you, was said as he finished eating. Are you really telling me that, Mr. Whis? She said cheerfully. Of course, I don't see anything wrong with it. Besides, maybe training you will motivate Mrs. Miu to return to training, ho ho ho, he said while laughing with that classic smile. Ha! As if I would train again just because. My Goku would train with me, he was saying while his voice was decreasing. Excuse me? Can you speak louder? I can't hear you? Whis asked mischievously since he had heard her. I'll join you when Goku masters Divine Ki, she said while crossing her arms and looking away, hiding her blush. Divine Ki? What is that? Asked the Saiyan with great curiosity and excitement. Tell me one thing. Haven't you ever wondered why you can't feel Mrs. Miu's ki? I asked the Saiyan seriously. Goku opened his eyes in surprise, and tried to feel Miu's ki but he felt nothing. It's true. I can't feel his ki. That's because Lady Miu has mastered Divine Ki, which is very different from the ki you use. Mr. Whis, let's start training as soon as possible, he said. very excited and motivated. Whis, ho ho ho, we will start tomorrow, so please contain yourselves. 15 minutes later, which was how long it took them to finish eating and say goodbye to Mr. Popo, the three of them went to Boz Mountain where Goku lived. Do you live here? Miyu asked when she saw the Xian's humble house. Bulma gave me this house a few years ago for winning the martial arts tournament. She also gave me a credit card to buy food, Goku replied as he entered his house. What a good friend that Bulma must be to give her these things, don't you think? Mrs. Miyu was asked the goddess of destruction, who was clenching her fist. Why yes, what a good friend, she answered with a slight smile and a swollen vein on her forehead, which made the angel laugh. And then they entered the house. It seemed small from the outside, but inside it was quite good, since it had a dining room, kitchen, bathroom and 2 bedrooms. Are you really going to stay here, since there's only 1 room free? Asked Goku while he went to get some soft drinks. Only Mrs. Miyu, so don't worry about me, unless there is some delicious food you would like to treat me to, Ho-Ho, Whis replied. But Whis, exclaimed the goddess. Calm down, besides, this is what you meant, right? This will be the best for both of you, trust me, he whispered in Miyu's ear and then left. And Whis? Asked Goku when he saw that he was not there. He left, he'll only come for the training sessions, he said while receiving a soft drink. So it'll be just the 2 of us? Goku asked, scratching his head, not quite understanding why Whis had left. Why yes, from now on we will live together, he answered timidly after drinking his soda. And so began a new stage in the lives of both, in which they will learn a lot from each other. That same night, after eating several pizzas, they went to sleep together despite the shyness of both. They did it to get used to it and lose their shyness. Meanwhile, Whis had gone to the planet of the goddess Miyu to play and talk with the oracle fish like every night for several million years now.